We didn't get it. So kind of a little bit of a teardown. I think that's really hard to do. But I also think, in my opinion, it sends a signal to Brock Purdy. You're not getting what you think you're getting. We're going to move off good players. What do you make of their semi-rebuild in San Francisco?
Well, I agree with you. It is hard to accept that they missed their window, but they missed their window.
Yes.
And, you know, when this history of the NFL is written, there's going to be a bunch of teams that we're going to say, man, if not for that annoying team in red in the Midwest, they could have been a champion. And the Niners had 2 great shots at it, 2 fourth-quarter overtime leads in a Super Bowl. They didn't get a ring. And too often teams then, I think, when it's clear it's kind of going in the wrong direction, cling to it. I think you are still seeing New Orleans cling to the idea of what they were trying to be with Drew Brees, and because of that, they won't be able to build a true contender for years to come. I think the Niners really went all in last year and the year before and gave out some contracts they didn't really want to. They didn't want Trent Williams, the guy on the screen, is an all-time legend.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to add guaranteed years for him at 37 years old. They didn't, I don't think, want to give Brandon Ayuk the deal they gave him right after they had given Debo that deal and they had spent a first-round pick on a receiver. They did all those things and others. It made Joey Bosa, when the highest paid defensive player was making $29 million, gave him $34 million, all those things to win. They almost won and then had a season wrecked by injury, and now they are resetting. I wouldn't call it rebuilding, but I think they are resetting. And I do want, if I were running the Niners, I would offer Brock such a team-friendly, almost insulting deal that I didn't expect him to take, because I really do want to see him this year without a super team around him if he looks like he did last year without a super team around him. And if that's the case, then that simply is a player you cannot pay $55+ million. And the arguments people make as to why Brock Purdy should get that money, they're like, well, Tua got this and my guy Trevor got that. The problem with those arguments is, if you then ask those same exact people, hey, do you think those were good decisions by the team? They're like, no, of course not. That's a disaster. And so you don't sign your, and again, Purdy, obviously has accomplished more than Tua or Trevor in this league, but you don't use bad contracts as the standard for a contract you're going to give. And so the Niners have the leverage here, and if they're run as smartly as I think they are, I would expect them to use that.
Yeah, I said this, so Justin Fields to the Jets, and I said, so he had a defensive coach and a defensive culture in Chicago. I saw what it looked like. He had a defensive coach and a defensive culture in Pittsburgh. I saw what it looked like. Now he's going to a defensive coach and a broken culture in New York. I know what this is going to look like. I think had he inherited McVay or Andy Reid, we would have gotten the best version of Justin Fields, whatever that is. It's not Mahomes, but whatever it is. I look at this Jets move and I'm like, I've seen it. I know what this is going to look like.
So here's why I don't mind it, Colin. For the first time in almost a decade, the first, second, and third biggest story about the New York Jets does not have everything to do with their quarterback. So what I mean is Darnold. While they draft him in the top 3, while he's there, everything Jet-related is about, is Darnold progressing? Is he the guy? Then Zach Wilson, draft him number 2. Everything about the Jets is centered around the orbit that is Zach Wilson. Then obviously these 2 years with Aaron Rodgers. Now the quarterback is not the lead actor. He's not even really the supporting actor. He's just kind of a tertiary character in the movie that Aaron Glenn's trying to write. And so I don't mind that at all. $20 million for a starting quarterback is literally, unless Daniel Jones ends up being a starter, and maybe he will be, but he and Daniel Jones will be the two cheapest non-rookie scale quarterbacks in the league. Like, that is as cheaply as you can do it. And while they figure out what they're going to do at quarterback, I don't mind this as a placeholder with essentially a team option in year 2, with the 1 in 20 chance that Justin, who came into the league so young, that he is still relatively young, reunite him with Garrett Wilson when he was at his best at Ohio State and see. But I just think them not having, oh my God, how's the quarterback doing, as the biggest story surrounding the team is a positive for what Aaron Glenn potentially is trying to build.
Okay, so this one, somebody asked me the other day, how's Nick Wright doing since the Super Bowl? And I said, winning at poker and breathing, he's fine.
Oh,
but people
appreciate
are...
that. Got back from Vegas, by the way, is 4 hours ago.
I can
4 hours ago. Your guy Goldman texted me. He's like, I know you're flying in today. You're still going to come home with Colin? I'm like, of course. Like, you got to be able to, you got to work multiple jobs. No problem. But yeah, bags under the eyes. Good game with Helmy yesterday. You can watch it on Poker Go, but go ahead.
Okay, so listen. Joe Thuney was doing yeoman work last year. He's gone. Bears really needed him. Great pickup by the Bears. They're going to go to San Francisco, get a backup, cross your fingers, overpay a little bit, that's free agency, and put him at left tackle. You got to be, after watching the Rams' defensive fronts. There's some defensive fronts in the NFL right now that are very, very good. Philadelphia's defensive front. I don't love the offensive line for Kansas City.
All right. Well, let me listen. So
reaching.
they have. Let me defend it for. So listen, Joe Thuney's a great player.
Great.
Guy's won 4 championships. I think 4 or 5 All-Pros. Might be a Hall of Famer one day. But they have the highest paid center in the league, and then they have to decide which of our highest paid guards in the league do we want to keep. They kept the guy who's 6 years younger, and Trey Smith. I'm fine with that. The guy replacing Thuney is going to be their second-round pick from last year, Kingsley Suamataia. And then there's the left tackle. And I look at the left tackle they signed from San Francisco maybe differently than most, because normally you don't want to sign a backup to a frontline position.
That's right.
Unless, of course, that backup is backing up arguably the GOAT. So again, not to make it about me, but once upon a time, I was nothing other than Colin Cowherd's backup. How good could he be? He's a bench player. And it's like, well, I'd be a starter in a lot of spots. I'm backing up the greatest of all time.
Right,
That's
sure.
you back up Trent Williams. Who knows? Maybe he's the 3rd best left tackle of the last decade, but the best of the last decade's in front of him. Nothing you can do. Now he gets a shot. So you know what I mean? I'm bullish. I'm bullish on this young man, and I think there's precedent for it.
Okay. Well, it's an optimistic viewpoint, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're backing up the GOAT.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
That's true. That's true. I will say this. I said the good news and bad news with the Bears. The good news is they got a bunch of good players. I mean, I'm sorry, but Caleb Williams, guard, center, guard, that may be the best trio in the league. Here's the bad news. It means you had to buy him because your GM whiffed on all his picks. So what it tells me is, if you go look at the Eagles, the Chiefs defense, the Rams defense, the Lions O-line, that's drafted and developed by the team. So the good news is you're better. The bad news is, your draft picks stink. So it still tells me the Bears going into next season, they still don't have everything upstairs right. That's my take.
So I'm not. I don't want to put this on Ryan Poles, like say he is Ryan Grigson, and because that's not fair.
That's not fair.
But the reason I bring that up is Ryan Grigson got that job in